Happy New Year, everyone. The numbers are in for Seychelles and Panama City Beach for 2021. I'm Craig Duran with the Duran Group over at Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices. Wow, I want to get into the weeds a little bit with the data and the numbers on what's going on in the market. This is my fifth or sixth one of these I've done already this morning, and it's really, really amazing to see how dramatic some of the numbers are. Some of these numbers, I think some of the drama or how extreme the market is gets lost a little bit when you just look at some numbers on a page. But I'm really going to try to stress to you just how incredible what it is, what we've seen. And I really want to stress too that it's something we've all gotten very used to what the market has been like now for almost a year and a half. And we've got to remember that as cycles work in real estate and other financial markets, markets aren't always like this. Take some time to think about 2007 and 2008 and whether you were involved in real estate or not, or you knew people that were. Think about the stories that happened. There was a number of years there where things were the exact opposite of what's going on right now. So I think it's important to be aware of what's going on. I think it's important to make some good decisions based on what's going on right now, but also let's remember to not take this for granted because things can change. So let's look at some of the numbers. In Seychelles specifically last year, this is interesting. This is a little bit different story than what we've seen in a lot of other buildings. We actually had 31% more condos available for purchase last year. In fact, the number of new listings was up 42%. Those numbers are take into account when a unit was put on the market for sale, whether it was late 2020 or into 2021. But at any rate, there were more choices for buyers in Seychelles last year. And you probably saw this as an owner if you were watching. More units went up for sale. There was so much price appreciation last year that plenty of people were taking advantage of the market. The number of units that went under contract jumped also. We went from 12 the year before to 23 last year, a 91% jump. The number of actual closings happening jumped 40%. And what's interesting is the sold volume jumped 52%. You would think that if the number of units went up 40%, the volume would be up 40%. But of course, there was some pretty major price appreciation. So that was up also as well. The average sales price, and this only tells part of the story, but the average sales price was up 8% for the year, but we're going to delve into that, and you're going to see that that's really quite a bit more than that. When you look at the entire Gulf front market first, this is a chart I always like to revisit. You can kind of see what's been happening in the market and where we are now. The red line represents the number of units for sale. This is the beginning of the pandemic right here. Now think about this from a buyer's perspective for a minute. If the pandemic hit and you made a decision in the month or two after that you really wanted to buy a condo in Panama City Beach, month over month, if for some reason you couldn't find something or you missed out on an opportunity or were in a bidding situation that you didn't get the unit, month over month, you had fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer choices for over a year. It's probably started to get pretty hard as a buyer to find something, or you got very motivated when you did run across something. You made a really strong offer because supply was tightening so much. In April, May, look at what started to happen. From April to August, we actually started to gain units available for sale. It's summertime. Buyers can't see a lot of the units they really want to consider. And so we started to see inventory levels come back up a little bit. I was interested to see if that was going to continue into the off season and if we'd kind of finally run through the cycle. But look at what happened. It didn't happen. Buyers came back to the market. Rental season ended. People have been waiting to buy. There was some pent up demand, and then buyers were buying units again. Remember months of inventory. I'll give you my little spiel. If you've heard this before, just hit fast forward. Remember, months of inventory, traditionally in real estate, months of inventory is a good way for us to assess where a market may be headed. Traditionally, it would take 5 or 6 months to work through the entire process of seller calling real estate office, real estate agent getting marketing going, showing the condo, negotiating contracts, getting the contract, closing that contract, closing. That whole process traditionally would take 5 or 6 months. That's where the months of inventory number came from. I don't know what those first air quotes were for. I contend that it's more like 4 or 5 months is a normal market anymore, because it doesn't take us 30 or 45 days to get marketing going. We don't rely heavily on print media, newspapers as much as we do. We can get things going very quickly. So 4 to 5 months is normal. Anything below that is a hotter market. So we like to follow that number to see where we are. When the market softened, like I talked about up here, when the red line moved up late in the season, we only softened to 2.53 months of inventory. That's still a very, very healthy seller's market. We've even come back down to 1.15 months of inventory, which means theoretically that the entire Gulfront market would sell out in 1.15 months. If no other unit came up for sale in the next over 30 days, theoretically the entire Gulfront market would sell out. That's the kind of demand that we're having. When you look at Seychelles specifically, it only ever peaked at about 4 months, which is about a normal neutral market. Right now we're sitting at 2 months of inventory, 2 months of inventory, which again is still a very healthy seller's market. Very quickly, this is just a different version of the same story. You can see kind of August, we were down. Here's our supply. We were down 41%, down 36% on available units for sale. But we weren't writing as many contracts. We were off 15%, off 18%. This is year over year. But look at what happened in December. We were still down in inventory. In fact, by the end of the month, we were 50% down again year over year on supply. And we write contracts. We wrote 35% more, 8% less, 32% more, 8% more, 62% more year over year in December. December was a very active month. And think about why. Experienced condo owners, especially if it's going to be a rental, are targeting March 1st as the beginning of their fiscal year. If that's the beginning really of rental season, then you need to have owned this thing long enough to be able to have the ability to book those rentals established. So you need your management in place, or your website in place, or whatever needs to be done to the unit. All that needs to be happened. So you need to be closed January, February, really. So that's what's happening right now. I think a lot of people still in our market think that equate the selling season to the high beach season. We obviously know Memorial Day to Labor Day, or I'm doing this backwards on the video. Memorial Day to Labor Day, beginning to end, is the heaviest times of the year. It's typical summer season. It's very busy. But that's not when the majority of transactions are happening. The majority of transactions are happening early in the year and later in the year. So if that's the case, and you're thinking about selling this year because you like where the pricing is, you've got to consider, okay, am I going to take advantage of the spring market, or am I going to wait and see what happens till the fall market? And we're going to get into specific pricing in Seychelles next, but got on a tangent. If you're thinking about taking advantage of the spring market, start the process now. Start the process early. I'm telling you, you just saw last week at the end of December, 62%. We wrote 62% more contracts year over year than we did previously. I was in a bidding war with a buyer last week on a unit. So think about that. Think about starting the process early. Think about starting aggressive. Make sure that you have a plan. If you're going to price aggressively, that you have a plan for getting to closing on a contract price that's over all the recent sales. There's some challenges in that when appraised values are here, but you're trying to sell here, you have to have a plan and some strategies to be able to get this done so that you're not stuck selling at this price range. We have ideas for that, but make sure you have that covered. But again, think about starting the process sooner rather than later. There's still a lot of people that come to market late February, March, April, thinking they want to be on the market for the summertime. It's almost too late in some cases. And especially if you're trying to assess the risk of when to sell, okay, I'm going to work through one more rental season. It's going to be a very good rental season, it looks like so far. Then really, okay, if I'm going to pass on the spring season, I've got to be committed to after the rental season, probably August, September, October, something like that. So the risks to be thinking about and assessing between now and then would be probably more nationally. Is there anything in the economy that's going to turn? Would something happen in the stock market that would make buyers less excited to buy because their portfolios looked worse? Are interest rates going to continue to tick up? Is that going to hurt demand? Some of those things. I think there's probably more risk to the downside than there is upside at this point. Although over the short term, the next few months, I think we could still see some price appreciation. There's just still some very, very intense demand. So I think you've got to, if you're thinking about selling in 2022, but you want to wait until later in the year, stay on top of the market and just see if you see any signs of inventory levels starting to creep up again, anything else that would, policy changes or economic changes that would put a slowdown to the demand. To look at some pricing, this is just from December 1st. Remember, I think our average sales price was $361,867, but look at where real numbers are today. We had a sale of a one bedroom last, the one with the not the Gulfront Master, closed at $394,900. We have another closing now over $400, $405. We were talking about just getting over $300 this time last year. That's pretty amazing. If you sit and think about that by in and of itself. We have a unit asking $405. It's under contract. We have another unit asking $407,900. We have another unit asking upgraded $429,900. It's under contract. And we have one with the Gulfront Master asking $429,900, and it's under contract. And a new listing now on the market at $435. Pretty incredible pricing this quickly. It's going to be interesting to see. At some point, we're going to run into some resistance. Treasure Island has seen this a little bit, where we got some sales, we ran up to here, and then things have kind of settled in here. It'll be interesting to see how high Seychelles can continue to push pricing. But again, if you're an owner, you have a one bedroom, none of the 05 stack is available. And there are only two of the other plans. They're on the 19th and 20th floor. If you have a lower floor unit, those would be in very high demand right now. You could probably push pricing even higher. If you have an end unit, you don't have a competitor right now. You can almost set your own market if you do it right and something like that. So the couple takeaways for you guys, I know it's 12 minutes of some data and me ranting, but if you're thinking of selling sometime in this spring, I would tell you to start your process earlier. Go ahead and get something out there, but price aggressive, and then let's watch the market. I think you have time to let the market work. You have people who aren't going to be in town for 30 or 45 days, maybe necessarily, maybe even longer, but they're starting their research now. And so getting out there to be considered is important, even though you may not have a high level of showings out of the gate. You're really setting yourself up and getting ahead of potential competition the rest of the spring. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of activity out of the gate. There's a ton of demand. I've had multiple people. I've been showing property all week since Monday morning. The phone's been ringing. I've shown property every day. People who are back in town from out of town shopping, and they're coming from some different places this time. We have people bringing perceptions of value from other markets that are really making us continue to look like a deal. So as a seller, keep all those things in mind. Don't be bound, and still at this point, do not be bound by what recent sales histories are. This is the kind of market that you can test the market high, depending on some of the basics, depending on your condition, depending on the age of mechanicals, depending on your floor height, depending on your rental history. All those things will matter, of course, on just how high you can push things. But this is certainly the time of year. And back to what I was saying earlier, markets like this don't last forever. Markets like this don't stay around forever. We're a good year and a half, almost 2 years into a really phenomenal market. So we're going to keep in mind month to month, we're going to keep looking at numbers, making sure to keep you informed. So whatever changes happen, we're going to let you know about it. I hope you guys found this helpful. I know it's a lot, but I just think some of those things I think are really important for you to understand. I think most of you are on our e-alert system already. If you're not, just text me. 850-527-0221 is my number. Our alert system will get you set up to receive information anytime a unit comes on the market, goes under contract, changes price, or sells. It will show you that and send you an alert for that. There's no charge or obligation for that. If you just want that, we'll set you up for it. It's very accurate is what I like about it the most. It's coming straight out of our MLS system. So you get accurate information, especially on those sales prices. So if you're trying to keep up with the market specifically in Seychelles or really any place else, just let me know how you'd like us to set it up, and we'll get it going for you. Happy New Year. Thanks for watching.